The Immortal Game, Chapter 12. Entirely Predictable. Esteem was not pleased. He had slain half a dozen more loyalists on his way through the streets of Inner Caroline before he passed through Empyrean's second barrier and found himself at the palace. He was covered in blood, though none of it was his own, save for the tiny bead that had gathered on his lower lip where he had bit himself with a sharpened hoof. He did not cast a spell to clean himself off, and he did not see Casimir. The general was in a dark mood. His appearance would deter any pampered aristocrats from approaching him with the intent of currying favor. Verity had escaped him. Worse, she had insulted him. The insolent little girl still hated him for the way he treated her in childhood, despite the fact that was the only reason she was alive. Clearly, there were still lessons that she needed to be taught. His daughter had been rescued by the one called Rainbow Jash. How the other mare had managed such perfect timing was perplexing. Esteem himself couldn't use my magic, only war spells. How Rarity was able to share the thoughts of another was a mystery. Rarity's escape had come at a hoof of her friends, upon whom she had clearly grown too reliant. Discrepancies were a weakness. This was a lesson the girl would need to learn to have taught her, and Esteem knew the perfect way to teach it. All her friends would die. "Sir!" Esteem did not stop his stride as the cadet called to him. "A billion!" "I know he does." Esteem snapped back. "I will be with him directly." The cadet slowed as he approached the tower. "Something wrong, sir?" Esteem clicked his two sharpened teeth in irritation. "Take the field, cadet." "Yes, sir." The pale green unicorn gave a sharp salute before steering away from the fuming officer. Esteem hammered his way up a flight of stairs and practically blew a door off his hinges with telekinesis. He was not ugly, not inside or out, not naked or robe, not pristine, and certainly not when he was drenched in the blood of his fallen enemies. He was beautiful on the inside, too. His spiritual aesthetic was one that was elegant in simplicity. Every hindering vice or seemingly virtue cut away to leave a pony without weaknesses, without cumbersome attachments. Even the pride was the product of due to his icy rage was normally a driving force for him, a powerful motivator. Verity had been disgusted by his love of death and conflict. What could his daughter possibly know about beauty, which she called ambition and superiority ugly? What to her was so beautiful about compassion and reliance? Esteem was gentler with the doors leading to the core of the sun, but he still made a loud clatter when they banged open and struck the walls. Empyrean rested across the room on a large pile of red cushions. Between him and Esteem was almost every noble currently housed at the palace. No doubt they had fled to their god prince, and what they perceived to be a time of crisis. "Get out!" The general was stepping into the court before he had their attention. The various nobles froze at his command and shocked by his appearance. Most of them looked to their prince, then back to Esteem, clearly decisive. Esteem held them to the side. He split Casimir and shot his 14 shards into the pillars lining the room, then ripped them out of the stump to reform the blade in front of him. "Out!" he screamed at the useless flock, "before I carpet this room in your entrails!" They left. In the midst of the fleeing nobles, many of whom were stepping over one another to escape the court as quickly as possible, Esteem locked eyes with the prince. Empyrean looked furious, but where Esteem's anger was born from pride, the general assumed that Empyrean stemmed from fear. The prince was a child and a coward. "General!" the prince cried accusingly, "the barrier is down!" "It is," Esteem said coolly. Empyrean's eyes were darting around frantically as he stood. "Why are you covered in blood?" "Because," the general said as he explained something simple to a toddler, "I have recently found myself proximate to a great deal of the fluid." "Do not mock me, unicorn! Why is the barrier down?" Esteem met the prince's livid orange eyes. "I imagine, Alicorn, the Twilight Sparkle had something to do with it. The unicorn is more capable than we thought." "Impossible! My father said his spell was unbreakable." "Indeed he did," Esteem breathed. "In that case, I suppose we are mistaken. The barrier must still be intact. I shall carry on with my typical duties until—" Empyrean stamped a hoof. Cracks ran outward along the marble floor where it struck. This is no time for joking, General. I demand that you take this situation seriously. With a burst of magic, Esteem cast a spell to dry himself off. Every drop of blood on his robe and coat was flung away in a pattern nearby floors and pillars. Then give me an order, he bellowed. Tell me to do something instead of summoning me to your little castle and ask me why I am covered in blood. I am covered in blood because I have spent the morning killing. What kind of asinine question is, why are you covered in blood? What kind of fool are you to think that I need to be told the barrier is down? I know the barrier is down. I watched the barrier go down by the hoof of Twilight Sparkle herself. Imperium was totally taken aback. No pony spoke to the prince that way, other than his father. Steve was past carrying. Did you want me here so I could recommend a course of action? Or perhaps you would like me to give a command for once? I dare say I can already guess what you ordered me to do. Esteem sneered. You want me to call everything I have back to the palace to protect you, leaving the city to descend into turmoil. Because despite the fact you are the most powerful being in the world, save for King Titan himself, you are afraid. The temperature in the room rose drastically as Imperium stared at the general, aghast. He opened his mouth to speak, but only managed to sputter out something incoherent. Esteem wondered if he had gone too far. He said himself that Imperium was second only to King in terms of raw power, though the prince might not have no combat experience whatsoever. You could likely kill Esteem with only a thought. Esteem ready to brisk in preparation to escape whatever attack Imperium would throw at him when the unexpected began to happen. The prince began to cry. General watched in disgust as Imperium sat on the floor, hid his face in the hooves. I'm trying, he whined. I just want to be a good ruler. Never sized Pony wiped his eyes. I just want to be what... Me. Esteem knew who had spoken before he turned toward the king. Even in his avatar, Titan's voice cut into the mind like a blade. An ambitious goal, if an unrealistic one. The king seized an earth pony and was stepping slowly to court. He turned to Esteem, and the general felt a fear they had never known upon the battlefield. He had disrespected a god. Titan could kill him. Does it please you, Esteem, bullying my infant son? Esteem remembered his courtesies too late and dropped into a low bow. Titan ignored him. Instead of facing Imperium, he got eyes on his son, and Imperium's face slowly slackened to experiencing his gaze. The under god wordlessly left the court as Titan turned to speak once again to the general. Make no mistake, Titan continued. He is what he is. I matured him as much as I could, but his sensibilities are still those of a 12-year-old. Esteem didn't know if he was supposed to speak in his own defense or not. Somehow he doubted it would help. I imagine your discontent stems from your recent reunion with your daughter. I understand you would often beat Rarity before my own daughter took her from you. Esteem opened his mouth to speak, but could not come up with any words. How did Titan know about Rarity? Do not fear, Esteem. I am not so foolish as to destroy a valuable asset, and I do not feel rage. You are in no danger. Titan had known about Esteem's plans for Rarity all along. This is not good at all. Esteem managed to speak. Why did you... Titan silenced him with a raised hoof. Allow me to educate you, he said. I make it a habit to ensure that all ponies believe they had me fooled, or otherwise believe me that they know something I do not. It makes the behavior of both my enemies and my underlings entirely predictable. That your daughter's in this city and you intend to convert her to the natural order has been known to me for some time. That you intended to do so without my knowledge or consent has also been known to me. This duplicity on your part was expected and accounted for. It is a small thing, and your daughter's presence only serves to drive you toward my own ends. I would rather a general with his own ambitions and motives than a simpering lapdog. I give reward ambitions and direct motives rather than any other pony alive, and so your loyalty is guaranteed. Esteem wasn't sure if he liked being spoken of as a puppet, but he was relieved at being alive. Besides, he thought, he was essentially another of Titan's tools. Celestia believes that she can play me in the Immortal game. She believes that the actions of her underlings will bring her closer to victory, and ultimately to her renewed dominion over the entire world. She is mistaken. While I am speaking with you now, I am also at the dark heart of the Everfree Forest, peeling away the enchantment she has used to alter this world. Simultaneously, I am subduing the oldest and most powerful dragon that exists. I do not say these as a boast. It is very difficult for a being such as myself to boast. Any self-aggrandizement I commit falls within the bounds of truth. I am grand. I have played the Immortal game before Celestia's creation. Against old foes, though, as he would look upon with envy and awe. I earned this world and created this species, bought and paid for with the blood of my kind and the scars of a conflict so vast and terrible and lasted over a millennium. Only one of my foes remains, and even he fled this world rather than face me. Then turned to scavenge my creation in my absence by wreaking havoc upon 2 of my daughters who remained. I won this Immortal game, General. No matter how many ponies resist, no matter how many of my underlings die, this fact cannot be changed. The persistence of the pieces matter not, for I own the very board. No outcome exists that precludes my restoration of the natural order. Every time ponykind resists, they merely increase the magnitude of the eventual retribution. Hope that you succeed in your task, Esteem, because if you fail, there will be no insulation between ponykind and their gods. Empyrean would be harsh. He does not love them the way Celestia did. Terror would be cruel. She enjoys causing her children to suffer. But I... Titan closed his eyes and tilted his head skyward. I brought their god to her knees in 2 minutes. I would not punish their transgressions so much as I would wipe disobedience from your species altogether. Esteem stood frozen, still wearing his blade-casting robe with Kersimere drawn. Titan's words were unsettling, to say the least. Esteem wanted a world at war, not an ash-filled wasteland or an inherently docile race. Still, he got an easy considering he had lied to his god king and reduced the prince to tears. Your Majesty, he breathed, what is my next task? You will continue with whatever projects you would normally undertake for the next 2 weeks and 3 days. Anon? You made me a general? I made thee the General Twilight Sparkle, General of the armies. Thou needest every unicorn, Pegasus, and earth pony reading the fight. Luna stood with Twilight atop a building, close to the main undercity entrance. Luna had requested to speak with the new general privately, and the inner-city loyalists had not objected. Twilight's parents had, but Twilight assured them it would be okay. Once Twilight had appeared, the loyalists had been at ease. The loyalists were now hers, and with Twilight at their head, city ponies would flock to the cause. Luna had gotten a step closer to rescuing Celestia. I don't know how to lead ponies into battle! I'm a student from Ponyville! Why dost thou coordinate large-scale events and lead the town's ponies to great success? This is completely different. It is. As the only living pony other than Celestia and I who have read Ponies Make War, thou art the only pony available. If you read Ponies Make War, why don't you do it? Because they loathe me, Twilight Sparkle. I am the shadow of evil and a sad reminder of the princess they had lost. Twilight drew back, biting her lip. I'm sorry, princess. Maybe they'll warm up to you now that they know you saved me. Nay, Twilight Sparkle. They love thee like they love Celestia, like a princess, like a god. I'm sorry, princess, I just can't handle this. Twilight sat down on the rooftop. All of this. My parents, my friends, the fighting. It's just too much. I can't become the pony you need me to be. And why not? Luna was losing paces with the unicorn. Celestia had spent hours extolling Twilight's capabilities. Now the young manor was turning her back on her mentor. I am not asking to fight, Twilight Sparkle. I am asking thee to lead. I don't think I can be responsible for the lives of so many ponies, princess. Thou art the element of magic. Thou art responsible for the life of every pony, Twilight Sparkle. Twilight buried her face in her hoof. You don't understand, she said softly. Luna had heard enough. She dropped the royal canterlot voice. Of course I understand, Twilight Sparkle. Or did you forget that you freed me from Nightmare Moon? Twilight looked up, clearly surprised that Luna's changed in tone. Before Celestia banished her, she killed more ponies than you've met in your entire life. But her crimes were nothing compared to the ones I have committed myself. You think that a week of Nihilus and a month of sleep compares to a war as Nightmare Moon and a 1,000-year banishment? Twilight hadn't gotten over her initial shock. Your voice, she managed. I've been able to speak the Canterlot dialect for 3 weeks. My voice is just another tool I use to make myself impossible to relate to. I de-equalize myself, because if others thought me capable of feeling emotions, they actually might think I have flaws like every pony else. You think that after a life spent killing, I want to be a monster? Equestria needs no monster, so I do everything I can to keep up the appearance. I am better at this than I was ever at being a princess. I didn't. You are a far better pony than I. This means that Nihilus was a far worse parasite than Nightmare Moon. I know what it is like to feel the thoughts of the parasite for so long. Sometimes you forget it's some other pony thinking them. It starts to change you. Slowly, Twilight nodded. You don't want to be near Nihilus Nick's knot, so you're too afraid to use your power to destroy. I'm giving you a chance to make a difference without fighting. You just have to put on a uniform, give orders while keeping every pony organized. I hear it's something you're good at. I will give orders to conflict and lies. Twilight looked up at the princess. I don't... She began softly. Luna frowned. I don't want a uniform. Twilight finished. Very well, Twilight Sparkle, Luna said, slipping back into her usual voice. I expect thy friends will help to find the strength to be a general. Twilight rubbed her temple with a huff. What makes you think that? Because, Luna said levelly, they did so for me. Luna turned away from the unicorn and spread her wings to leave. But Twilight called out after her. Princess? Luna looked back, and for a moment Twilight appeared unsure as to whether or not she could continue. I could think 2 things at once, she said finally. Luna tilted her head. As in polycasting. Twilight shook her head. As in playing 20 questions with myself. Ah. You know what this is? I'm not crazy? Luna sat across from Twilight. The only other ponies I know of who are or were capable of such a feat are Celestia and Corsair. My ancestor. The mare who wrote The Power to Destroy and Ponies Make War. Indeed. She also had a journal that Celestia keeps hidden in her chambers. Asura was the first pony to split her mind. I'm not sure she taught Celestia, or if Celestia took one on her own. You know, guys, this is my 3rd time reading this fic, and I just now realized that Corsair means Sparkle. And Astor is a term related to God. So, technically, it means God Sparkle. I just now got it. See, this is what happens when you read a story multiple times. What was she like? Luna paused and pondered the question. How could she tell Twilight Sparkle about Astor Corsair? She could say that Astor was more of a monster than any of them. That he tried to overthrow and murder Luna and Celestia. That she was Celestia's biggest regret. That she had, in the end, been right. That she had saved the world. I have not read her journal, Luna lied, and I only met her once. Suffice to say she was not very much like you. I will not dwell on Twilight Sparkle. So, you don't know anything about mind-splitting either? Luna pondered for a moment. Thou shouldst avoid splitting thy mind when it can be helped. It creates unnecessary strain upon the consciousness. Do not attempt 3 minds until ye have mastered 2. I can do more than 2? Aye. Do not attempt to have 2 minds share faculties, or split control something that should not be split. In other words, do not give your forelegs to one mind and your hind to another. Coordination would be impossible. Instead, give the body to one mind and magic to another. I could cast with the focus of 2 Twilight Sparkles. Yes. More importantly, do not store the unwanted in another consciousness. What do you mean? Thou could easily jump plane in anger and pry into the back of thy mind, in an effort to prevent thyself from succumbing to these emotions. But our flaws are a part of us, Twilight Sparkle. And by doing this, thou wilt only be cutting away thine own identity. Only a full and complete Twilight Sparkle should make decisions for herself. A fractious consciousness and control will always attempt to rationalize keeping the remainder of self at bay. Who amongst us wishes to embrace our flaws and fears? Twilight troubled. Thank you, Princess. Luna gave her an evil look. I hope, Twilight, thou wilt give what I say serious consideration. I will, Twilight assured her. Then the unicorn vanished. Luna looked at a point just below the horizon, where the moon was currently drifting skyward, ushering in the night. Was Twilight burying every emotion that reminded her of Nihilus Nick's knot? So, it explained her absurd pacifism and indecisiveness. What had changed about the mare when she was occupied by the parasite? She was so desperate to deny. The princess sighed as she glided off the rooftop to an alleyway below. Twilight would be her general, at least. This was something. If the mare could not handle the responsibility, her friends would have had to help her find the strength. Celestia might be able to inspire greatness and trust in her pupil. But Luna had needed the guilt to force mare to becoming her general. It was no matter. Luna would save Celestia, no matter the means he needed to employ. So, the mare named Buttercup, seeing an obvious effort to break the silence. You're one of the 5? Albsack answered her with a wide grin. I sure am, though, she said thoughtfully. We don't actually call ourselves that. No, but that's what the royals call you. Scared to death of you they are, from what we can tell. You too, princess. Buttercup nodded to Princess Luna, who sat motionless in a corner. Albsack thought the princess incapable of becoming even more than antisocial, but Luna rose to the challenge by sitting motionless in a corner and not speaking for 2 hours, staring down aimless loyalists who would so much look at her. They were once again in the loyalists' war room, the heart of the sprawling network of labyrinth tunnels that made up their new home and housed several hundred other ponies. Luna and the 5, plus Twilight, had settled in. Now it was time for their first meeting. Albsack had arrived early. She didn't have much else to do underground anyway. Buttercup was the only loyalist with her, evidently having also come early. We're here! Pinkie Pie burst through the metal doors with Verity in tow, then did a series of acrobatic cartwheels before settling on the ground in front of Applejack, banging her tail against the floor a way a dog might. Buttercup seemed less than surprised at the Earth Pony's appearance than Applejack would have expected. I suppose, she said with a warm smile, that Louisa waits until everybody arrives before doing introductions. Pinkie Pie grinned. Sounds good to me, she declared, then leaned in toward Buttercup and spoke in a hoarse whisper that was louder than Fire, her usual speaking voice. We're under the L, she said. I'm Pinkie Pie, she winked. Strictest confidence, Buttercup answered her. Pinkie Pie nodded vigorously. Buttercup, she returned Pinkie's wink. Applejack! Verity whined as he sauntered over. Pinkie Pie caught us lost 4 times! Pinkie Pie perked up. I wasn't lost. You just never said you wanted to come straight here. Verity gave Pinkie Pie the most dejected look Applejack had ever seen. You heard me rappel down an artificial canyon wall. We were exploring. Oh, rears, Applejack cut in. Why are you wearing your armor? I am a Knight Commander, Applejack, she said, so she explained everything. Really? A new voice. An orange unicorn strode into the room. Nice commander. That means you can have the right to me. Applejack recognized him. It was a pony that escorted Twilight. Since when do you care about rank? Gray-coated Pegasus, who looked old enough to be Applejack's grandfather, came in behind the unicorn. You hate giving orders. Since she's somehow higher up on the nightly ladder than I am. The unicorn jerked his head towards Rarity. He said to Rarity, what are you, like 13? Are you even a magical talent? Guess you're Nocturnus and a nice Celadon have different standards. Rarity gave him an arch look. I did a generous theme yesterday, she said airily. The orange pony snoring. As what? A beauty deposit. You and he both look like you fit the program, the unicorn chuckled, and the Pegasus rolled his eyes. Rarity did not change their tone of voice. My resentment to my father is not a blighted pride, I assure you. Thus every head in the room snapped toward Rarity, and Applejack had not been expecting to hear that. It made sense, though. Rarity had acted strangely after returning home from the conflict yesterday. Rarity continued to speak in a castle voice. Yes, I am Knight Commander, and if you'd like to do the only pony alive who has been trained by both the strongest multiplier caster and the God Princess sitting behind me, you'll find out why. As a non-magical decade-old junior, I would happily embarrass you in front of your friends. I would look positively fabulous doing it. The orange unicorn was wearing a blade-casting harness. Verity plucked a milk flask from it with her magic. She brought the flask to hover in front of her face as she screwed the cap. Then she gave it a sniff and winked her nose essentially. Different standards indeed, she said before continuously tossing the flask back to him. Back at Cloudscale, that's referred to as being schooled! Rainbow Dash glided down from the upper balcony. Fireside followed. She landed beside Applejack and looked to the orange unicorn. Who is this guy anyway? The unicorn ignored her. I don't know if I like you or not, he said to Rarity. So I suppose you did give the alcohol back. So, every one of us here is here before Twilight? Dad said, looking around for the unicorn. How's that happen? Rainbow, my dear. Twilight is busy with her new duties. In any case, we're all early. Twilight will be here on time. She always is. Just like midnight, Buttercup chirped. Well, Doran's unicorn chirped, examining the face of his pocket watch. On time is in 22 seconds. Rarity smoked. If midnight is like Twilight, and he isn't here within 22 seconds, the watch is broken, Buttercup finished. As if on cue, Twilight's blue-coated father strode in through the door Pinkie Pie had used. He took in the room at a glance. I had a bigger table brought in for every pony, so we all have room, he said. Why are you all standing in over there? What's the dragon mare and the purple pissqueak? Doran's unicorn asked. Applejack was beginning to dislike him. Not walking, Midnight said briskly. You don't get to nickname my daughter. Twilight's father sat, and the two chairs sat to his right, filled with his daughter and wife in two bursts of purple light. Fascinating, Twilight's mother said as Twilight pulled a stack of papers out of thin air. Feathered null space. You could store and recall anything you like in a magical pocket. How did you manage it? It's nothing, really, Twilight said, clearly flattered. The retrieval system was the hard part. Would a puppet survive in it? Applejack doubted if all the other ponies present caught the look of mortified horror that came in Twilight's face for only a second fraction. Applejack cleared her throat loudly, and Twilight and her mother looked up. Ah, right, Twilight said, looking around. By my count, we're waiting on one more, is that right? The Grand Pegasus stepped forward. Wing Commander Spitfire is still in the field, ma'am. Rainbow Dash's head immediately sat up immediately. Spitfire? The Great Pegasus looked at her. She's the captain of the... I know who she is. They're here? He tilted his head. Of course. I suppose we ought to get started, Twilight said loudly. She opened her mouth to speak, but still seemed to hesitate. After shooting a quick glance at Luna, she said, You may all sit. Hearing Twilight give the order was strange to Applejack. While Twilight was no stranger to being in charge, normally giving ponies orders was something that Luna would do. Twilight had been just promoted, though. Twilight's parents took seats next to their daughter, and Buttercup, the orange unicorn, the Great Pegasus all took seats next to them. They left to the other side of the table to Applejack and the gang. Luna remained motionless. Applejack wondered briefly if the same persistence were intentional on Twilight's part. She placed herself in the midst of the loyal commanders, flanked by the two who were pretty much guaranteed to support her in everything she said or did. While you're all carried my team before, I think we ought to start by doing introductions. Twilight spoke. Her father scribbled down notes on the papers he had brought. I'm Twilight Sparkle, General of the Armies of Equestria. My team and I are responsible for the defeat of the Draconicus Discord and the Alicorn Nightmare Moon, who I must stress, she added, is an entirely different pony from the Alicorn sitting over there. Every pony turned to the princess, whose demeanor remained unchanged. 5 weeks ago, General Esteem imprisoned me in a construct of Alicorn magic. I was trapped within Nihilus Nix Naught until I was rescued by Princess Luna. I slept for almost a month before coming to Canterlot to help resolve this conflict. The Great Pegasus cleared his throat. You mean to say, General, that you can resolve this conflict, not just Esteem, but Titan and Terra as well? Yes, Twilight said matter-of-factly, but more than that, and once more introductions are finished. Of course, ma'am, forgive my rudeness. My name is Noble. Not just Noble, added the unicorn. Noble steed. Noble saw my glare. My friends here speaking the truth. I much prefer you call me Noble. I still not have the slightest idea what I could have done to my parents when I was told to make them attempt to ruin my life by calling me Noble Steed. I used to be captain of the Royal Air Force. When Titan arrived, I came out of retirement. The orange pony grinned. I'm still unimpressive. Twilight's mother snorted. You don't tell us your name for over a month, and it turns out to be unimpressive? Why am I not surprised? I'm not actually unimpressive. That's just what your daughter here nicknamed me. Some ponies, he thought in a look, think nicknames are fun. When no pony reacted, he carried on. I teach blade crossing to the ponies with the skill to learn, which mostly means Starlight and Midnight here, plus a couple of others who aren't magical talents. When I'm not doing that, I'm out causing trouble or drinking. Although truthfully, the two aren't mutually exclusive. I'm a bit of an abrasive jackass, but no pony puts up with me because of how useful and good-looking I am. Okay, show of hands. If this was a movie, who wants this guy voiced by Vic using his crow voice? Ooh, me. Starlight laughed. No pony thinks you're good-looking just because you're shaped like a mare. Unimpressive. She turned to face the table again. I'm Starlight Sparkle, she said. My husband, Midnight Sparkle. We worked as resources before Titan's arrival. As Midnight and magical talents, we don't have the option of sitting out. She nodded to Buttercup. That leaves you, Buttercup. Oh, she said, Buttercup. I'm Buttercup. I used to work in the dairy. That's all there is to know, really. There was a short silence. Was unimpressive broke. Alright, so what do you all do? That is supposed to be the most powerful unicorn in the world. That's going to be difficult to top. Neither Applejack nor any of your friends spoke up. Midnight's quill hung in the air above his parchment. Finally, Verity sighed. I am Dame Verity, Knight Commander of the Order Nocturnus. As I said earlier, I also happen to be General Esteem's daughter. Starlight inhaled sharply through her teeth. What? She's been one of my best friends since before Nightmare Moon, Mom. Starlight's eyes narrowed, and Rarity continued on. I used to have a house and a small business. Now I have a weapon. That's about it. Rainbow. She turned to Dash, who sat next to her. Dash did not look all right. She barreled up as her eyes started from one point to another. The Pegasus seemed to hesitate. Her wings shifted. I don't... Rarity cut off. Rainbow Dash is the fastest Pegasus alive, she said simply. What? I never said... Applejack caught her on her back. Come now, Dash. You're faster than Luna. You seen us Kung Fu? Pinkie Pie chirped. Fastest Pegasus alive, huh? How come I never heard of you? 'Cause I was a weather pony. And why were you a weather pony? Dash looked down. For a moment, Applejack thought she couldn't answer. 'Cause there's something wrong with me, she said quietly. Noble appeared flabbergasted, clearly not going to respond. Applejack needed to draw attention away from Dash. I'm Applejack, she declared. An elf pony, Unimpressive mused. This should be good. What do you do? Applejack raised an eyebrow. Near invincibility. Instantaneous regeneration for when the near power kicks in. Super strength flash detector. Google lasso. I will show up when some pony needs rescuing. Unimpressive narrowed his eyes. Well, that's just ridiculous. Does the pink one shoot lasers out of her eyes? On the corner of her eye, Applejack saw Twilight smile faintly. I make a delicious triple ice rainbow layer banana cake, Pinkie Pie said. And sometimes I says it precognises. I know every pony, and I mean every pony in Ponyville. It's less confused. I can tell like a balloon octopus wearing a top hat in 3.3 seconds. I can fall over 80 in the air. I can mix up the perfect pony spice chocolate tomato milkshake, and the near perfect assortment of explosives and combat lubricants. Oh, and my name's Pinkie Pie. But the lasers? Pinkie Pie leaned forward, began to stare at the night intently. Her tone dead serious. Not yet. Unimpressive rolled his eyes. That leaves the butter yellow butterflies. Name? Fluttershy sank fancifully in her seat. Her voice became quietly squeaky. Fluttershy, Twilight said loudly. And she always comes through when you need her. Unimpressive opened his mouth to speak, but Noble spoke for him. If all this is true, you certainly are an impressive group of ponies. It's no wonder we've heard stories about you. But the six of you would stand no chance against a pony as powerful as Empyrean, let alone Titan and Terra. I said before we could resolve this conflict, but I didn't mean with fighting, though certainly there will be fighting involved. If we could get myself and the five in a room alone with Prince Empyrean, she swallowed, he dies. The same goes for Titan and Terra. The loyalist ponies exchanged glances. Twilight, and I said, setting down his papers, you could do that? You could just kill one of the gods? I can't tell you the method. Suffice to say, Celestia armed me with exactly the tools I need to rid her of any of her enemies. Midnight's mouth became a thin line. I see. So, that's it? Unimpressive said. Or is this supposed to go along with whatever you say? Because Celestia left you with the tools to save the world. You're not even going to tell us how you intend to win this war. I'm going to go ahead and vote to no on this one, you guys. You don't really have a choice, Buttercup said. Everyone turned to her. Honestly, this is Twilight Sparkle. If she walked into the mess right now and asked every pony to mutiny, what do you think would happen? Do you think we'd still be in charge at the end of the day? A fair point. Twilight appalled at the prospect. I wouldn't! You don't need to, General. Buttercup answered. The entire reason this outfit exists is to cause trouble awaiting our arrival. Am I really the only pony who's realized that where does Princess Celestia's smokescreen? Everything's coming together, and it's up to us to be ready when it does. To that end, we should be giving Twilight Sparkle everything we have. Starlight gritted her teeth. I do not like the idea of my daughter being used as another one of Celestia's tools. I wasn't just a tool, Mom. I was her prized pupil. Prized enough to be targeted by Titan, but not prized enough for her to rescue. Mom! In any case, Noble said loudly, Buttercup has a point. As 2 of our 5 votes seem to belong to your parents, I doubt joint decision-making would bring us to a different conclusion. It appears Twilight Sparkle's now in charge. Her presence will no doubt be good for morale. Any objections? Every pony looked at unimpressive. You don't realize that you're putting the kid in charge, right? I suppose I'm going to have to be the one to follow her around and make sure she doesn't screw anything up. Follow her around? Starlight answered with a smile. We could throw ourselves through space with a thought. Good luck. Unimpressive muttered something uncharitable about teleporting mares. Every pony ignored him. Twilight cleared his throat. Well, now that that's out of the way, she said, I think we should all move on to the labyrinth. A thin film of translucent purple energy coated Twilight's horn. The area above the table was filled with purple lines. Ghostly lines traced an enormous three-dimensional maze above them. Twilight frowned. Green would be easier to see, wouldn't it? She said. The image of the maze immediately became green. We are here. A red mark appeared on the ghostly map. You have spread points all around these passageways. Twilight took several sheets of paper from her father and spread them in the air before her. She appeared to read them as the map continued to draw itself. There are a couple of things that we need to go over. It was then that Applejack noticed that every unicorn in the room was looking at Twilight with wide eyes, even her parents. Applejack didn't understand what Twilight was doing that was so impressive. Feeding so many ponies must be difficult. I can imagine most of your food comes from raids that Noble here organizes. Noble rested his chin on a hoof. How do you know I organize the raids? Objective analysis and deductive reasoning, Twilight said dismissively. Also, it's clear by your maps here that your knowledge of even the approximate sexes of the labyrinth is limited. The same complexity that makes the labyrinth such a perfect hiding place is working against you. I'd like you to hoof pick some trustworthy ponies that I can teach immediate subsections to. Though, enough that any operation we undertake can involve a pony capable of navigating the labyrinth. I also like to restructure several of your combinations in stores for greater efficiency. Well, we could go over the details of that later. With the air barrier down, new options for getting food and supplies have arisen. Twilight, said Starlight, did you really take down the barrier on your own? Twilight shifted uncomfortably. It was nothing, really. We got every pony we could together and tried it when it first came up, Midnight said. But it was, Twilight emphasized. I'm no unicorn, Buttercup said, but what's to stop Titan and Imperium from putting up another one? Nothing, Twilight said, but there's not a thing to stop me from taking it down again either. Imperium had to spend a massive amount of energy keeping that barrier up. I'll doubt he'll spend so much effort to replace something he knows I can take down. We now have access to the outer city, Midnight breathed, to all of Equestria. With full knowledge of the labyrinth, we could get refugees out with impunity. We can get supplies in, we can recruit, stated Twilight. That'll be the focus of the next several weeks. We are going to expand and recruit as many ponies as we possibly can. The emergence of Princess Luna and I, as well as the breaking of the barrier, should inspire more ponies to join the resistance. The image of the labyrinth dissolved. It was immediately replaced by a series of lines to begin to trace out a facility in the palace. We're going to need them, Twilight said. The place is a fortress filled with Prince Imperium, a generalist team, and over 200 true pony soldiers, and over 700 puppets, by my estimate. Midnight glanced. Estimate? How did you come up with those numbers? Objective analysis and deductive reasoning, Twilight said once again. In any case, I don't intend to have us assaulted head-on. We will need numbers. To that end, I also intend to organize some recruitment initiatives, which means the rest of the meeting ended up being mostly details that Applejack was not concerned with whatsoever. They went over in minutiae and planned additional meetings. She wondered why she even needed to be with this one at all. When the meeting concluded, Twilight had taken more task upon herself than Applejack thought was wise. Twilight had woken up days ago. She considered taking things easily. While she was certainly a capable mare, she could deal with some rest considering she had just woken up from. Applejack decided to stay behind and tell the unicorns she ought to slow down a bit. Wait only until Twilight and Luna were left in the room. When they were, Twilight let out a heavy sigh and rested her head on the table. Well, she said, sounding exhausted, how did I do? Luna moved for the first time in hours. Thou didst moderately well, she said. Well, you recalled to give permission as though ye are in charge. you were perhaps too permissive. Remember, Twilight Sparkle, thou art supposed to be the hero to these ponies. While thou may allow thyself to appear flawed, it must ultimately serve the purpose of making thyself relatable and thus likable. He must appear as a lovable savior possessed of mysterious powers. He must appear righteous and wise. The use of polycast maze made thee appear powerful. Thou must do things like that again in the future. Remember to express humility only when it serves to make thee appear when more grandiose. Acting as though the destruction of Imperial's barrier was easy disaccomplish this. Yes, Princess Luna. I begin to suggest outlandish and brutal courses of action in the presence of others. Thou must oppose me. Thine opposition and my submission will solidify thee in their minds as the righteous general who hath replaced the beloved princess. When one of my plans succeeds, I will credit thee with the success. Thou must set aside thy humility and accept this credit. Yes, Princess Luna. Thou shalt not argue with thy lieutenants in the eyes of their lordness. Thou shalt not admit fault was thine or anything. Instead, placing the blame on thyself of a lieutenant, thou shalt stand tall and proud and use thy magic to oppress at every opportunity that presents itself. Thou shalt present thyself publicly as often as possible. Thou must appear to live up to thine reputation, and they will love thee as planned. They will love me, Twilight echoed emotionlessly. They will love thee, Twilight Sparkle. Celestia did this for thousands of years. She was the greatest of ponies and believed thee to be the same. The greatest of ponies, Twilight said faintly. Applejack! Luna called out. Applejack looked up at the princess as Luna made for the door. The burden I have placed upon Twilight Sparkle is a heavy one. Thou and thine must comfort and support her in all things. She needs thee. The greatest of ponies, Twilight said again after she had left. She sighed and looked at Applejack. I don't think I'm cut out for this general thing. Applejack smiled weakly. Nonsense, Twilight. Luna's just plain forceful. I don't think you should worry too much about doing everything she was talking about. You just do the job you want to do it, and ponies will love you just fine. I'm just worried more about you buying out more you could chew. So's Blake. Tell me about it. The amount of restructuring that will have to be done now that we're here is staggering, and I'm supposed to give orders to become one of their new deity while I'm at it. Plus, I already have a half-dozen meetings to attend, and all of that is in addition to the things we need to cover. Applejack was confused. We, as in you and I, as in elements of harmony. Our meeting is tomorrow. Sure you're gonna be alright, Twilight? I'm fine, Applejack. I'm sure of it, Twilight lied. I just need to work out a proper schedule. So he looked at a stack of papers and quill. Listen to me, Twilight, Applejack said. There's anything I could do. Don't hesitate to ask you here. You're no use to any pony with your brains frazzled by all that stress. Twilight treated Applejack to a little stare. I'm just doing my part like every pony else, Applejack. I can't possibly do anything less. Besides, it isn't like you could host the meetings or stay with the elements anyway. Applejack sighed. Well, at least come and spend some time with us, will you? We hardly spoken at all since you woke up. Twilight was busy scribbling away with parchment. I will, just not right now. We'll talk about penciling you in after tomorrow's meeting, alright? Applejack opened her mouth to protest, but Twilight finished before she could speak. She hung her head. Twilight was one of the most capable mares Applejack had ever met. Even still, the unicorn was clearly under a lot of pressure. She needed her friends as plain as day, and to Applejack. But how to get her to slow down? Is everybody here? Twilight stood before the extra big table at the center of the Loyalist's war room, her horn and eyes burning with magical energy. Suspended by her magic were the 6 elements of harmony, lazily rotating in the air above the table.
Yes, Twilight, everybody is here. You can't,
She gulped.
see us?
Of course not, Twilight said. Aren't my eyes closed? Applejack waved a hoof in front of Twilight's face. York gave no reaction. Nope. Oh, Twilight squeezed her eyes shut. Sorry, that must look weird. It's a unicorn thing. Verity winced. Okay, it isn't a unicorn thing. More like a Twilight Sparkle, Princess Celestia, Astor Corsair thing. I'm really deep in magic now. This is incredible. I knew the elements of harmony were different, but this is almost alien. They make expert-level enchantments look like something I draw with a crayon.
You can draw enchantments with a crayon?
Piggy cheered.
Sounds pretty skillful to me.
No, I can't. That's my point. Trying to emulate this sort of kind of craftsmanship is, to my knowledge, impossible to do with unicorn magic. Like trying to start a fire with a stick of bubble gum is a saran wrap. Luckily, I don't have to emulate them. Twilight lowered the elements to the table. Doesn't understand them. Laura stopped glowing as she opened her eyes. Firelight smiled.
So do you?
Twilight sighed and hung her head. Not in the slightest. Applejack patted her on the back. I'll cheer up, Twilight. It isn't like we need to know how they work to use them. But it is, Applejack. Think of how many questions we have that still need answering. Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie have magic from outside their species. Rainbow Dash can instantaneously locate Rarity when she's in danger. And Rarity knew exactly when to throw herself off a bridge. You burst through a wall at just the right moment. Hey, do you think that's just luck? Pinkie Pie knows exactly where to step out to land on Forble's diamonds. None of this can be coincidence. At least some of it has to be related to the elements of harmony. The elder gods show up and overthrew Celestia, and we have the only things that can stop them. If we barely know how they work or where they came from, the elements had to have an architect. That probably means they had to have a purpose. Am I the only pony who cares about this? Applejack shrugged. I don't have much time to think about it without a fan, but I just thought we'd do the rainbow thing and be done with it.
Wait.
Fluttershy said loudly, or rather, relatively loudly. Every pony heard her, which was atypical. She looked down at them all.
What if we don't know how they work?
She let the sentence hung in the air. Then how do they know they will work? Verity finished. What if they can only destroy slivers in Discord? Then we lose. Twilight said simply, and Titan rules the world. Applejack scoffed. Now just hold on a minute, Twilight. I felt his magic, Twilight said. I can safely say that Titan did not create the elements of harmony. But I've seen firsthand of what he is capable of. Ask Luna if finding him is an option. The elements of harmony can't... She stopped, chewing on her next word. Kill an uncorrupted alicorn. Then it's over. Applejack narrowed her eyes. Well, that makes this really simple, doesn't it?
They'll work.
Fluttershy got out softly.
We have to.
Now that we got that out of the way, Twilight smiled. Who wants to wear the blindfold? Fluttershy called once more.
Blindfold? Me!
Pinkie shouted.
Me! I do! I want to wear the blindfold!
Twilight tossed her a strip of cloth. Thought you might, so I grabbed something pink. Pinkie Pie began to tie the blindfold around her face, as Twilight spoke to the rest of the group. We need to do some experimentation, she said. I can examine the ties that bond the elements of harmony all day, but the experimental data is imperative. To that end, we're all going to attack Pinkie Pie.
Wait, what?
Pinkie Pie looked around, despite the fact that her eyes were covered.
Think fast, Pinkie!
Twilight pulled a tiny cushion from midair and sent it flying at the Earth Pony. It struck Pinkie Pie head on, and the pink pony was sent to the floor.
No fear! I'm doing a blind pin to tail on the pony.
I need you to focus, Pinkie Pie. Applejack barked out a laugh. Twat, you just told Pinkie Pie to focus. Point taken. Another cushion bounced off Pinkie's chest. What do you guys usually do before you get cognizance of the others?
Nothing, Pinkie said. It just happens.
Twilight was becoming irritated. I don't suppose you could make it happen now, could you?
Sure thing, Twilight! Finally!
Pinkie Pie spun in silence and ended up with her back to Twilight. Twilight threw one of her cushions, and it bounced off the back of Pinkie's head.
Keep going!
She brought it out around again. Applejack spoke. Wait, Blinky, can't you just use your pinky suits to dodge them?
Of course I could, but that would be cheating. No pony likes it here.
It happened on the fifth pass. Twilight brought a cushion towards her, and Pinkie Pie ducked out of the way at the last moment. The cushion continued along its trajectory, and Twilight seemed so shocked she didn't stop it from striking her in the face. Pinkie Pie, did you just...
I got it all right!
Twilight seemed amazed, but then, Fluttershy thought to herself, it was quite amazing. I have to take notes, Twilight cried. She looked around in panic. Why haven't I been taking notes? Experimental procedure is imperative! She pulled out a notepad and quill from empty space. Then tossed another cushion at Pinkie, who was skillfully evaded. So you can feel them coming, Pinkie. You aren't using your pinky sense?
Nope!
Twilight flicked back over her cushion.
It's you, Twilight. I can feel you.
Twilight put her up to her chin, then threw another cushion. Pinkie didn't move at all. At first I thought she would fail to dodge it, but then stopped in mid-flight before Pinkie's face. Twilight began to furiously scribble down notes. Fascinating, she said. You knew I was going to stop the cushion. Let's try it with Rarity. Pinkie Pie evaded all of Rarity's cushions. The evaded cushions thrown by Twilight and Rarity simultaneously. It was then that Twilight produced another blindfold and tossed it to Rainbow Dash. Fluttershy watched Rainbow Dash carefully. The Pegasus was obviously not comfortable with being in the same room as Twilight. In fact, Dash was rarely comfortable anymore. She was still Rainbow Dash, but she had come back from Nihilus' spell a little more grim than before. She rarely followed orders she disagreed with, and never talked about anything that had happened before the coming of Titan. In Dash resented Twilight, however, she did a good job of hiding her feelings. She silently tied the blindfold over her eyes and stood up on the table. Pinkie climbed up after her. Let's start Dash off with the cushions, said Twilight.
It took Dash longer to find it than it had for Pinkie Pie. First, I noticed that Twilight didn't throw any cushions at Dash. Instead, Rarity threw them all. After almost 2 dozen strikes, Dash moved the perfect amount of distance to evade one of the cushions. Her head snapped towards Rarity's exact position.
Well,
She breathed.
Twilight looked up for her notepad. Okay, she said. Something a little more complicated. You two are going to try and hit each other as hard as you can, while make sure the other pony doesn't hit you. Get the field before you start. Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash both stood motionless on top of the table.
Every pony watched in silence. Finally, they both started to move very slowly. They each took several breaths. Then Dash moved forward and very slowly extended a hoof. It was appears he was fighting slow motion. Pinkie moved out of the way, drawing the motion out with extreme excruciating slowness. They threw her own punch, this time slightly faster. Dash stepped back to avoid it. Then slowly reared up on her forelegs, and acted as supreme balance kicked out with her hind leg. Pinkie started ducking before Dash even threw the kick. Twilight spoke quietly as the two fighters began to quicken their pace.
This is harmony,
she said breathlessly.
If you can learn to control this, the benefits would be astronomical, to say the least. A team of perfectly synchronized fighters who always know where each other are. Individual agencies' weaknesses would be abolished.
Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie began to fight at alarming speed, and neither one of them could touch the other. Pinkie Pie giggled, and Dash grinned. They flipped and rolled, punched and kicked, and executed moves that were ridiculously elaborate. First, I could barely track their movements.
Also, you two know Kung Fu. That's pretty neat.
Twilight touched cushions in a fray, but effortlessly evaded.
Alright, she said, that's enough of that. You'll need to teach one another the technique later. And I suppose I ought to learn too. For purely academic reasons, of course. Since I'm not going to be fighting. She added, next on the itinerary?
She drew a colorful sheet of parchment from thin air.
Enchantments.
She nodded at once.
All of you become extremely capable, but I like very revealing security. As the elements of harmony, none of us are expendable. Since I doubt I could convince any of you not to take the field, I like to place protective spells on all your armor. Interestingly enough, the physical manifestations of the elements themselves are more conducted to enchantments than any other material known to ponykind. Even meteoric platinum. An enchantable enchantment is supposed to be impossible, but why not, right? They already break every other rule in the book. Still, I think so fiddling I'll be able to work with them into your armor.
Dash took off her blindfold.
What kind of spells are you talking about?
First, I noticed that Dash was still not looking Twilight in the eye.
Protective lens, Twilight said. I can make your skin as hard as sheet steel. In Pinkie Pie's case, I'd like to do about a dozen other things. In Applejack's case, I'd like to create something that stores mass. For Rarity, a spatial see-through forble. In your case, I'd like to forge a weapon. I still haven't seen what Fluttershy wears, so I'll have to work from there. Try to remember that no matter how strong the elements or my enchantments might help you become, it's all just a means to a greater end. None of this matters if all of us can't get to Empyrean and use the elements of harmony. We're going to beat him in friendship, not fighting. The armor enchantments are just to help us get through the defenses. Like general esteem, Rarity said stiffly.
Twilight nodded.
I'll need access to all your armor.
So, what do we do till Lion? Applejack said.
Oh, I'm sure Luna can find a use for you. She's organizing supply rights now with Unimpressive. Sure, Unimpressive Twilight. Title's on point.
Everybody looked at Rarity, and she shrugged.
What? I might not like him, but he's still a knight. But I'm a general. Different liking systems entirely, darling. I outrank him, and I still call him by his honorific.
Twilight let an exasperated sigh.
I don't have time to learn all the formalities. Here,
she said, pulling out more papers out of thin air.
I drew you all simplified maps so you can memorize.
Applejack groaned. Homework?
Essentially, yes. You should be able to find your way to the training hall from here. Luna will want to see you all. I'll call another meeting once I learn more about the elements.
Every pony left except for Twilight, Fluttershy, and Rainbow Dash.
A weapon?
Dash asked with a touch of venom. The tone of her voice was lost on Twilight, who was reading a book levitating the elements of harmony at the same time.
Uh-huh,
she said absentmindedly.
Corsair has designed the enchantments for something in ponies make war. It wouldn't make sense for her to put Pegasus weapons or armor in the power to destroy.
My hooves work just fine, thanks!
I remember, Twilight said without any change in tone. But I'd like you to have extra defenses against unicorns.
Dash shook her head.
Whatever.
She mouthed loudly before storming off. First, I was torn between chasing after Rainbow Dash and staying with Twilight. It was clear that both of them could use somebody to talk to.
As far as Fluttershy could tell, Dazzle and Twilight were overcome with guilt. Well, then why didn't they just talk to one another about it? In the end, she stayed with Twilight. Not because she chose to, but because it took too long to come to a decision. Twilight stood in front of the table, looking at the door that Dazzle exited through. Head cocked to one side. Slowly she seemed to realize Dazzle had been angry with her. I don't get it, she said. What did I say? First, I didn't know if the question had been directed at her or no pony in particular. I don't know. I tried talking to her, and she told me later. I'm supposed to ignore her until then? I can't ignore some pony who's supposed to be my friend. Do I try to change the subject? But then I'd be going against her wishes, and that would mean I'm a terrible friend. I have no idea what I'm doing. Why doesn't she want to talk to you in the first place? Twilight looked at her as though she had just asked an extremely stupid question. Are you kidding me? First, I ground a hoof against the floor. You're both better now. I'm not, Twilight said matter-of-factly. What do you mean? Twilight sighed. I'm not myself, Fluttershy. First, I was confused. Don't say that, Twilight. You're still the unicorn we all became friends with. That's just it, Twilight said. I don't think I should be. What do you mean? I don't really want to go into details, but I hated Nihilus. More than I have ever hated anything in my entire life. I spent a week living with the thoughts of some pony whose only source of pleasure was destroying the things I cared about. When I saw the chance to, Twilight choked on the words. They took a deep breath. I killed Nihilus Nick's knot. And then she begged me for her life. I gloated. I smiled, not just because you knew we were all going to be safe, but because I knew I had destroyed everything she cared about. Just like her. Fluttershy bit her lip. Twilight, you aren't anything like her. Exactly, Twilight whispered. She turned to look at Fluttershy with a terrible expression of foreboding. I buried every last piece of violence and rage I had in a deep, dark place inside me. I thought I let it go and made myself whole when I broke the barrier. But now I'm not so sure. What if I've been pushing away all this time without realizing it? What if I'm really a worse pony than I imagined? I could become the next Corsair. I'd be everything Celestia wanted me to be. I'd be a monster and a tool. First, I didn't know what to say. You are a monster, Twilight. You never could be. Do you remember what Nihilus said when you told her she could do good? First, I had fake recollection. She didn't want to. That not a part of her was capable of good. And what did you tell her? First, I remembered that part clarity. You could do evil. I don't know what could be part of myself like the way it could do to me. But I had to try to be the pony every pony needs to be. And I certainly can't do that if all I care about is... well, you know. Twilight, I meant every pony could do evil. No pony is perfect. Every pony makes mistakes. I'm Gerald Twilight Sparkle now, Fluttershy. I can't afford to make mistakes. Twilight? I don't think... First, I struggled with the words. How could you say this to a friend? I don't think you're dealing with this properly. Twilight's expression darkened. And how should I handle it? Step down as general and let ponykind down? Stay on as general and destroy myself? Go looking for the monster inside me? Keep it away and slowly go crazy? I'd rather be a broken coward than a creature like Nihilus! Twilight was shaking by now. Should we all just go back to Ponyville? Mine is a dragon to try to live in his new world? Leave the rebellion to Luna? Twilight, I didn't. No matter what I do, ponies will get hurt, myself included. We don't live in Celestia's world anymore. There's no perfect solution. I can't send 2 tickets in and get 6 tickets out. Not this time. I'm doing the best I can, Fluttershy, and I'm sorry if it isn't meeting yours or Luna's standards. I agreed to be the student of the princess, not Godslayer General of the armies of Equestria. If you find a better way to do things, let me know. With that, Twilight vanished, leaving Fluttershy alone to wipe the tears from her eyes. They came for her in the night, of course. Celestia didn't know where she went wrong. She covered her tracks and hid the body on the side of the ruined castle the closest to Ponyville. She had made hours in up ground before Terra had returned. She ran towards the dark heart of the ever-free forest, made sure not to run foul of any native creatures. She covered her tracks. For calamity's sake, Celestia was magicless. There was nothing about her they could look for, let alone track. She covered every angle, preemptively worked against every measure Terra might employ to find her. None of it mattered. They had found her. She learned their presence by the noise that they had made. They crashed through the underbrush, breaking branches and tripping over roots. She didn't see them until they were very close, as it was night and the puppets were black. In fact, she only saw them once the bright blue Pegasus that led the puppets landed amongst their pack. Celestia cursed her white coat. Undoubtedly, the Pegasus spotted her through a break in the trees from above, and called his puppets to come and capture her. It meant Terra knew where to look. It also meant Celestia still had a chance. She saw no unicorns, which meant that Terra would not know how they found her. She would need to take out the Pegasus first, and quickly so as to prevent him from fleeing and finding her mother. Your ponies would follow. There were barely a dozen of them. Like her enemies, Celestia had no magic to quicken her reflexes, heighten her senses, or strengthen her blows. While she was certainly more rested and well-fed than she had been during her escape, she was not in peak physical condition. She did not have weapons of any kind. What she did have was a mind of steel tempered by over 1,000 years of ruling the greatest civilization the world had ever seen. A mind that had broken dynasties and defeated gods with weighted words and seemingly innocuous laws. A mind that would see all ends in a situation as basic and primitive as this one. A mind that would have forgotten more about bringing ruin to your enemies than Terra had ever known. If it ever got anything. The mind of a god. Times 3. She distracted the Pegasus by throwing a stick at his face. He turned his raised forelegs to deflect it. Celestia stepped inside to the collectible guard and struck him in the jaw. Then broke the dazed pony's neck. He wondered briefly about which of them had more hubris, then decided it wouldn't matter. She was the one left alive. The Earth ponies were a different case entirely. They were tougher than the average Pegasus, as Celestia had to take her time. It didn't matter. No pony knew she was there but these. She had all the time in the world. She was patient and calculating, putting down the creatures with a broken stick through specific points on their equine anatomy. She did not fight them head on, but rather led them into lunges or trips that would bring them down long enough for her to slay. She was careful not to become surrounded, but in that regard her other minds had her covered. It was no easy task. Constant combat was a ridiculous, rigorous exercise, and even considering energy as she was, it began to take its toll on her. It didn't matter, though. She had measured out her physical energy and knew she had enough. It became easier as she progressed, as there were puppets to keep track of. It was only when she drove the stick through the final puppet's eye, exhausted, that she heard the music. Celestia would remember later that the melody was nothing extremely complex or even original, that the forest provided terrible acoustics, that the sound was thrown off by the fact one of her ears had been eaten. She remembered those things later, because at that moment she was enraptured by the most beautiful sound she had ever heard in her life. In a life of 1,111 years, nothing she had experienced could even compare. It was more than just music. It was infused with love and joy at all the beauty in the world went unseen. It spoke to her of longing and loss and the folly of incognity. It moved her, like nothing else could. So the tears streamed down her face, unashamed. It was Alicorn magic. She wanted it. She wanted her godhood back with an intensity that made her stomach tighten and legs shake. The trees around Celestia bowed away from the god queen of the world as she descended to the ground without a single flap of her wings. Celestia went to her. Terra smiled at her with a radiance that made the worries of the immortal game melt away from Celestia's mind. Her ethereal mane reached out and pressed her daughter's face, as Celestia smiled back at her mother when she felt its warm touch. Then the singing stopped. Celestia looked at her grunting mother with horror. "No," she said softly. The statement did not encapsulate her denial. Morning sunshine. A series of loud cracks rang out to the surrounding forest as Terra broke each of Celestia's legs with her magic. "I admit, I'm not all that smart, but how arrogant you are that you think you could escape Titan! To him, you will always be entirely predictable!" Tears burned against Celestia's face. He had nothing to do with her broken legs. "Doesn't it bother you," she said through gritted teeth, "that you need him to—" Terra set her up with a jarring strike to her jaw. "Quit trying to get me to kill my husband for you. There are at least of your manipulations. You've been childishly overt. Why would I ever abandon Titan to join my crippled daughters? Do you not recall that over 1,000 years ago, you locked me beneath the earth with him?" Terra rolled Celestia over, belly up. "I had waged war against him for decades, and you never asked if I would help you take back the world. You didn't want an ally then. You don't want one now. No, you only want a tool. So now, Celestia, I'm not going to join you against Titan. I have known him for almost 1,000 years. Our relationship is more complex than love or hate. You disrespect the bond between us when you treat it as a string to pull on. Perhaps because you and your sister have never started such a bond, that you understand so little about ours." Celestia spat blood into the dirt, and Terra continued. "I'm supposed to bring up the fact you killed 2 ponies for nothing, Sunshine. He said that would break you. This is all his play, you see. Celestia find her humiliation, her guilt. Then had to find her humiliation again. Then she sobbed uncontrollably, letting out a piteous series of moans as she did so. Tara smiled once more. Come now, sunshine, she said, leaning down and laying her tendrils over warm mane, like the tears on her daughter's face. It isn't that bad. Let's go home.